In this video, we're going to be going over exponent rules or operations of exponents. Just to start off with what an exponent is, if we have 3 to the power of 4, this means that we're multiplying 3 by itself 4 times. All of this will be whatever the exponent is, 4 times. If we have x to the power of n, then we have x multiplying by itself n times. So all of this would be n times. By the end of the video, you should know all of the operations of exponents. So when we have two bases with exponents that are multiplying, when we have two bases with exponents that are dividing, when we have an exponent raised to an exponent, and when we have multiple terms inside of an exponent. The product rule tells us that when we're multiplying two exponents with the same base, we have to add the exponent. For example, if we have z to the power of a times z to the power of b, this is going to be z to the power of a plus b. This is when we have the same base. In this case, z is our base. When we have the same base and we're multiplying, we have to add the exponents together. If we have 3 to the power of 3 times 3 to the power of 4, this is going to be 3 to the power of 3 plus 4, which would be 3 to the power of 7. 3 to the power of 3 means that we're multiplying 3 by itself 3 times. 3 to the power of 4 means we're multiplying 3 by itself 4 times. Times 3 times 3 times 3. So if you notice, we have 3 3's, and over here we have 4 3's. In total, we're going to have 7 3's, or 3 to the 7th power. The quotient rule tells us that if we have exponents with the same base dividing, we have to subtract the exponents. So if we have z to the power of a over z to the power of b, this is going to be z to the power of a minus b. We're just going to be subtracting the exponents when we have the same base. Once again, in this case, the z is our base, and a and b are our exponents. If we have 7 to the power of 6 over 7 to the power of 2, what we have to do here is subtract the exponents. It's going to be 7 to the power of 6 minus 2, which will be 7 to the power of 4. 7 to the power of 6 means we're multiplying 7 by itself 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in the bottom, 7 squared means we're multiplying 7 by itself 2 times. So on top we have 6 7's, on the bottom we have 2 7's. We can cancel 1 7 on the top and on the bottom at a time. So here we can do this 2 times. And left over we will have 4 7's, or 7 to the 4th power. The power rule tells us that when we have an exponent raised to an exponent, we have to multiply those two exponents. So if we had z raised to the power of a raised to the power of b, the way that we simplify this is by multiplying those two exponents together. So let's say we had 5 raised to the power of 2 raised to the power of 7. What we would have to do here is multiply the two exponents together, and we would get 5 to the power of 14. 5 to the power of 2 to the power of 7. This means that we have to do 5 squared times itself 7 times. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is going to be 5 times 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 5. We're going to do this 7 times. And at the end, you will see that there will be 14 5s in total. The power of a product tells us that when we have two terms multiplying together raised to a power, that power applies to both of the terms. For example, if we had y times z raised to the power n, then that power n would apply to both the y and the z. And we would have y raised to the power of n times z raised to the power of n. If we have 3 times 8 raised to the power of 4, this would be 3 to the power of 4 times 8 to the power of 4. Just to rewrite it in a different way, 3 times 8 raised to the power of 4 is like saying 3 times 8 4 times. So we will have 3 times 8 times 3 times 8 times 3 times 8 times 3 times 8. And there are 4 3's and there are 4 8's, all being multiplied together. When we have a fraction raised to a power, the power applies to both the numerator and the denominator of the fraction. For example, if we had y over z all raised to the power of n, this would be y to the power of n over z to the power of n. If we had 5 over 9 raised to the power of 3, this would be 5 to the power of 3 over 9 to the power of 3. And just to think about it in one more way, if we had 5 over 9 to the power of 3, this would be the same as 5 over 9 times 5 over 9 times 5 over 9. And when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply all the top numbers together. There's 3 5's multiplying, so that's 5 to the third power. And on the bottom, there's 3 9's multiplying together. So that'll be 9 to the third power. The zero exponent tells us that whenever we have something raised to the power of 0, the solution is just going to be 1. So if we have z raised to the power of 0, this will be 1. If we have 100 raised to the power of 0, this will be also 1. And this should make sense. Let's say we had 4 raised to the power of 5 over 4 raised to the power of 5. In the quotient portion of this video, we learned that when we have two exponents with the same base being divided, we have to subtract the exponents. So this will be 4 to the power of 5 minus 5, which would be 4 to the power of 0. But we also know that when we have something divided by itself, this equals 1. So therefore we can see that 1 equals 4 to the power of 0. So what's a negative exponent? Let's say we have z to the power of negative n. This will simply be 1 over z to the power of n. By putting it in the bottom or in the denominator, we're turning the sign from negative to positive. And I'm going to tell you why now. Let's say we have z to the power of 8 times z to the power of negative 8. Based off the product rule, since we have two exponents with the same base multiplying, we can add the exponents. So this would be z to the power of 8 plus negative 8, which would be z to the power of 0, which we know is 1. If we have z to the power of 8 times z to the power of negative 8, and we know that this equals 1, we can divide z to the power of 8 on both sides. And we'll get z to the power of negative 8 equals 1 over z to the power of 8. Fractional exponents are where roots, like square roots and cube roots, are introduced in this lesson. So if we had z to the power of 1 over n, this would be z to the nth root. If we had 27 raised to the power of 1 over 3, this would be the same as the cubed root of 27, which we know is 3. If we have 49 raised to the half power, this would be the square root of 49, which we know is 7. Whenever we're dealing with a square root, we don't have to write that 2. We simply write the radical. This should make sense because if we have 7 raised to the power of 1 over 4, and we raise all of this to the power of 4, the power rule tells us that we need to multiply these two exponents together. This would be 7 to the power of 1 over 4 times 4, which will end up being 7 to the power of 1. And that is the end of our video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to our channel for more math content, and if you have any questions or there's any part of this video that you didn't understand, please make sure to include it in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to run through all of the comments and answer any questions that you might have. I'll see you in the next one.